we had to give each other enough grace, and they were able to do that in the structure and the cadence of being those things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I get what you're getting at is you're trying to deep dive and saying, hey, you're trying to do. We were one of those projects was doing the transformation stuff you're talking about, taking
Yeah.
those things with a deep level.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. What is exceptional leadership? Is it characterized by a potent blend of vision, empathy, and resilience? Does it transcend mere management, inspiring individuals and teams to reach heights they never thought possible? Exceptional leaders foster a culture of trust and collaboration, empowering their team members to innovate, take risks, and learn from failures. They lead by example, demonstrating integrity, humility, and a relentless commitment to their organization's mission and values. Exceptional leaders are adept at navigating challenges with grace and decisiveness, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth. In today's episode, our guest, DeWayne Allen, discusses the importance of exceptional leadership for business transformation initiatives. He also explains and breaks down the foundational component for the exceptional leadership and what leaders need to know to follow them for their organizations. Finally, he discusses several stories where he has been personally involved with complex transformation initiatives. Let me introduce DeWayne to you. DeWayne Allen is a results-driven executive with over 20 years of experience, renowned for leveraging a solid engineering and operations background to propel growth for Fortune 500 organizations. As a visionary leader, DeWayne Allen excels in crafting and executing strategic plans to deliver desired outcomes, with a proven track record in fostering relationships and adeptly managing cross-functional teams. DeWayne Allen ensures seamless alignment of internal operations with overarching business objectives. He is also a trusted advisor to C-suite executives for strategic decision-making. DeWayne Allen is dedicated to empowering 1,000+ Black leaders to become influential corporate executives through STEM education, fostering diversity, equity, and innovation. With that, let's get to the conversation.
Hey, DeWayne, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sam, how are you, buddy?
Hey, I'm good and I'm super excited to have you. The kind of stories that you have, they are going to be super interesting for our listeners. Just to kick things off, do you want to start with your quick intro as well as what you're focusing on these days?
Yeah, sure. So my name is DeWayne Allen, as you said. I am kicking off my expertise in leadership and really around topics around exceptional leadership. Now, what does that mean, right? Everybody can do that. Well, I've been in the aerospace and defense industry for about 25 years in a various amount of roles. You can just take the gambit of what those roles look like, working in a lot of both commercial and defense-based programs here in the States. And I am here to really talk about leadership, what things we can do differently, how we show up, and as well as talking about other topics around exceptional leadership and how I use those things in my journey. And I'm here to share that. So thank you for having me.
Okay, so very interesting. So definitely want to learn a little bit more about how you define that. But before we do that, we have one of the standard questions that we ask every single guest, and that is going to be your perspective on business growth.
My perspective on business growth is that's why we're in business, right? And I think the great part of where we bring all our brains, all our energy, all our resources is trying to figure out whatever business we're in, whatever setting we're in, how and why and then the what things we can do to ensure to hit that growth, right? And so what do we show up from an operational standpoint? What do we talk about from a talent standpoint, a resource standpoint, as well as what's happening where we need to target our markets and where we need to be and what marketplace we need to look at. So it's a holistic view of how we look at business growth.
It's definitely a holistic view. Thank you so much for sharing that. So now let's go back to your exceptional leadership, I guess. So maybe define that for our listeners. And I don't know if that is slightly more formalized term or you coined it, whatever it is, maybe define it, how that works, and how companies can take advantage of that.
Sure. So that's a great point. So the way I look at exceptional leadership is how we take these traits, what traits we have in the leadership mantra, and it's a gang of them, but I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 of them that I'm really focusing on.
Yeah.
Is really on how we up the ante on and showing up differently with certain traits that all these exceptional leaders have had throughout history of time, as well as those that are in great business leaders. Right. And so I coined that term just because I said these things are exceptional. This is just not regular leadership, how to do it. These are what exceptional leaders do. These are what traits they come. Here's situations they show up in. Here's how you go push that across. Right. And so that's how I coined the term, and I'm doing a thesis study, if you will, via my newsletter, The Storyteller at beehive.com, or in my podcast, Brothers in Aerospace and Defense, where we really dive into those leadership topics on any subject that's going on.
Okay, so I don't know if you're going to have any sort of stories, examples from the podcast of the leadership. And so share some stories, I guess, how people have sort of upped the ante. I guess that's what you were mentioning. So so share some stories.
Yeah, so why don't I do this? Why don't I start with you first, with the individual, right? When we talk about how you show up in a setting, right? And I coin it as being this thing called the 5 Bs. Right? And these are some things I've seen from great leaders I've worked with, and in environments I've been in, I also have studied. Right? So the first B is to be prepared.
Okay.
Right. I need you to understand that you need to be prepared for the moment. How much did you study in? How much did you know your situation that you got to be? The second B is be on time. Right. And it's not just a function of punctuality. It's also a function of knowing when to change the temperature in a room. So be a thermometer instead of a thermostat. Be able to a thermostat instead of a thermometer. Being able to ask the right questions, answer at the right time, so you can get the right results that you're looking for. And that's particularly a creative thing. The next B I want you to understand is to, when you're there, is be inquisitive. And being inquisitive is back to those question things, asking those questions that either you need to know and where your team is going to be engaged in. Right. The 4th B is a thing I like to call, and this is the value add one, is be impactful. And this is where you go and figure out, what's my value add to the situation for me? Where am I doing? What things am I ensuring that I'm doing to add value to myself, as well as the situation, my leaders, company, wherever I'm doing in that situation need to be. And the 5th and final B is the most important B. It's about being yourself.
Okay.
Understanding your authentic you, right? Being able to understand how I show up in a place, having that right emotional quotient, having a high enough EQ to know how I tick, what ticks me off, what makes people tick, and then how to identify those traits in other folks so you can really show up and really add value and be a person from influence perspective. So that's how I look at. I want to talk through where you got to be yourself before you start looking at, okay, what type of exception, what is exception? Just think about some things I need to do in the immediate, and I can do that right now, right?
So very interesting. So let's touch this more from all lenses, I guess. As you know, this podcast is all about ERP, business transformation, digital transformation. Okay. And I know that you have led some of these initiatives as well. Now, when you look at these initiatives, and I see a lot of leaders, okay, very smart CEOs, very smart CFOs. Okay. These guys really know their game. They really do. Okay. And these are very seasoned people who we are working with. But here's the reality. Okay. When they get into these initiatives, they all fail. Okay.
Right, right,
They
right.
all do. Okay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they all have these 5 or 6 different things that you pointed out. Now, I'm going to hit on all of those. Number one thing that you mentioned is be prepared.
Right.
Okay. Here's the reality check. Okay. You can only be prepared so much when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to a deep topic like this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They sort of feel that they kind of know, but they don't know.
Right.
They don't want to get to the depth that is required to be successful with these initiatives. Sometimes they underestimate the expertise required, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why they sort of struggle. So that is just number one point. Be on time is great. I think they sort of know they can probably follow along. I don't think they are going to fail there asking the right questions. They just don't know
Mm-hmm.
what they don't know. So how are they going to ask the right questions, I guess? Be yourself is great, but I mean, you really need to know how to execute in my personal experience. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe describe a little bit from your perspective what you have seen when you were doing these initiatives. uh, and you have seen a lot of executives, you have seen yourself as well. So
Yeah,
go back a few years back and
sure.
see if you can still be successful with these 5 things.
Yeah, so I had the uh, privilege of working on the two largest, at least in the U.S., the two largest M&As transactions
Yeah,
in aerospace history, right?
yeah,
For the companies I had worked with, and one term, and I'm gonna stick with the B's that I
yeah,
saw, and I'm gonna go with the positives, the better story
yeah,
of how we had to do, I'm going to call it a digital transformation activity,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I served as the integration executive for
yeah,
the digital organization.
yeah,
So being a part of that, understanding what are those and setting up what are those digital transformation units. When I look at the leadership that was
yeah,
over, two ladies, they were excellent, and they were always they and if they look at it from the 5 B's perspective,
yeah,
they were prepared to know, hey, what is the gamut of things
yeah,
that when we bring in big two organizations together,
yeah,
what were the plans for them to upgrade their digital technology
yeah,
infrastructure and strategy,
yeah,
right? And they studied, hey, here's how the companies did things in the past,
yeah,
right? Because that
yeah,
culture, everything says vision and structure, everything, but culture, everything's along. They knew how
yeah,
their particular companies
yeah,
got things done and
yeah,
how they failed, right? And so they brought that experience when we were trying to understand what the what the part of things that we to find out the risk for this project would be
yeah,
on either side,
yeah,
right? Everybody pretty much, if you're doing a digital infrastructure, everybody pretty much got the same challenges or things they want to do. They want to, okay, we want everybody to be basic stuff. We
yeah,
want everybody to be able to log in from the computer they
yeah,
got,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Base those type of things. Well,
yeah,
okay, well, how does company A log in? How does
yeah,
company B log? What systems do we use? Which one's the one that's more
yeah,
adaptable and forward looking that we
yeah,
can bring to the future?
yeah,
What things we could do that we're prepared for that?
yeah,
They could ask those questions and just create the risk register, if you will,
yeah,
of things that could go wrong,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
What I also thought is when they empowered the teams to go, here's your section
yeah,
of the digital transformation that's going to take. Here's your part. Here's your
yeah,
project. Here's your
yeah,
project. We had like
yeah,
6 separate projects
yeah,
on those things, cloud computing being one.
yeah,
They also did the right things of asking the right questions around those risks,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
also pulse the team of, okay, what is this thing that's keeping you up at night that we know we're going to have to go? And then they also ask the right questions
yeah,
around what would it take? What would we have in the bounds of our budget, knowing that we have to go do the mother may I to the board of directors of, hey,
yeah,
here we need X amount of millions to go do this thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
As a cost to the
yeah,
business. They
yeah,
also knew that they had to go take that investment and
yeah,
go and create the ROI and the cost synergies to go do that.
yeah,
So they asked those questions
yeah,
for each one of those projects every time they came up,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then they ask the question of, can you do it in the time frame that it takes, right? What would it take? And what was the things? So if I could, what of those 6 projects, or those
Yeah.
6 legs,
Yeah.
what 6 legs, you're not gonna get all 6 done
Yeah.
after integration. You got some that's gonna carry over,
Yeah.
right? When you
Yeah.
become, and so, okay, here's where we put something 2 years down the line,
Yeah.
or 3 years down the line. And here's some fallout that could happen with that.
Yeah.
And having those, just having that data set
Yeah.
helped you execute, right? The impactful piece.
Yeah.
And continually focus the teams on those set of questions to help you execute. Of course, we could develop project plans and
Yeah.
created that and had all the support to go do that. But you asking those questions,
Yeah.
that helped those things. And then the last thing was around being yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Being authentic.
Yeah.
They brought who they were to the work. So one of the leaders was a young, just a new parent.
Yeah.
So she understood that, hey, we all can't work in 24/7 environment.
Yeah.
The other leader was a former aviator, right?
Yeah.
Knew how to use the influence and use the structure
Yeah.
to help the team, to everybody align to in the structure. And that's who she was, right? And we were able to bring the bad news up first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask for the bad news, but we also was able to go mitigate those things that came up because of those the risk assessment that they kept doing with each other, right? I dare say that was the experience that I got out of that was positive. Did all those things happen on time? No. Did all those, to your point, right? Did all 6 of those happen on time? No. Did the major ones happen when they need to?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Did the people, was the systems able to work? Did everybody get paid? The systems worked? Did everybody get paid? Did they hit the payday? Yep.
Yeah.
Did everybody get the paperwork they needed from a financial systems perspective? Because that's a part of the infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Was everybody able to log on in some working time? Yep. Was there other things we had to go do, like, hey, future base upgraded to a bigger suite that provided us stuff and then saved us money on the end? Yes. So I think there is an ebb and flow, and I get the point of, hey, I'm gonna push back a little bit on the point that everybody fails.
Yeah.
But I think in your examples, but I think what's really the issue is that you really got to step back outside of yourself and really understand how you preparing for this. I know people are really smart, but people are also victims of being caught up in, hey, this is how I'm going to do this. This is where perfection is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick to the critical path.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really highlight my risks, right? I'm going to hide some of those. I'm going to try to keep the best foot forward.
Yeah.
And then when it hits the fan, and it derails everything.
Yeah.
That's what I think we can, those 5 B's help us with that and pushing it. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. So very interesting story. And I'm going to have a lot of follow-up comments there on this particular story as well. I'm going to have some more build up on my position too, I guess. So in this particular story, obviously, I mean, you are describing the integration story, right? And I don't know if these were different business units that you were trying to integrate. Now, integration could mean a lot of different things as well, right? So generally, in the kind of examples that you have provided, I don't know if this was more of the infrastructure integration. In general, in our experience, when you are simply integrating the infrastructure, that is generally slightly easier, okay? When you are integrating the processes, okay? When you are doing the real ERP-centric, CRM-centric project, the enterprise technology, that's where the real challenges are, because you are changing the business processes. Sometimes people sort of take it seriously, sometimes they don't see things. What all they might uncover, you are right, that one way could be that you develop some sort of risk register, but you are only going to be able to capture the known risks. So if you are not doing the due diligence, you might not have all of the risks captured. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no. So when you get in there, so I'm also going to say they also gave everybody the grace to know that we're not going to know everything. We know the best we can.
Yeah.
Right. And we know it the best we can at the time we have.
Yeah.
Right? And you think about it. We was doing a pandemic when we was doing this. Right.
Yeah.
It was changing the game, whatever.
Yeah.
So we had to give each other grace.
Yeah.
Enough grace, and they were able to do that in the structure and the cadence of being those things. Right?
Yeah.
And I get what you're getting at is you're trying to deep dive and saying, hey, you're trying to do. We were doing one of those projects was doing the transformation stuff you're talking about, taking
Yeah.
those things to the deep level.
Yeah.
It was not, I said that was just one of the six,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
so that was part of that. Yeah, and you're changing processes, you're changing in-depth process on how things flow. You got tons of flow sheets and things like that of how you're doing. I get that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, and I'm not saying it was, again, I'm not going to say it was perfect. What
Yeah.
I'm going to say is because they had the tenets of
Yeah.
how we got together, we were able to help ourselves through some things.
Yeah.
There were some budget challenges, absolutely.
Yeah.
There were some other those things that are going on, but I'm saying that there has to be, sometimes we have to get outside of ourselves and
Yeah.
instead of figuring out, hey, this thing is going to come out, it's going to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's false, right? There's no perfect transformation, right? Never has been.
Yeah.
And even transformation in humans is not perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. But what you have to do is
Yeah.
you have to understand and celebrate yourself on key moments that you got some good stuff done. And knowing that, hey, here's some things that's going to take a little bit more because you got time, you got resources, you got a business that's moving, you got other things that's going to be, but you're trying your best to understand that, hey, I need to put that on the timeline plan, on the strategy, on the technology strategy roadmap, instead of trying to do this year because of businesses that happen. Because you're still you're still a cost to the business in the end. So you have to think of that too.
Yeah, so very interesting. So I'm going to offer some more examples now in terms of what I have seen and
what you're saying. And you're a pro in this. I'm just, I was just a lowly engineer on what I saw, and I just took the leadership thesis on it. But please get in there.
Yeah. So I see different examples, right? I mean, when we are dealing with these client engagements, and regardless of whether you want to call it failure or struggle, I mean, it's all terms, right? But I mean, they do struggle a lot, right? So for example, let's say, and everybody is different when it comes to leadership style. Everybody sort of has very different upbringings, and based on that, their personality sort of shape in terms of what they want to do. So I see two different examples, and there is nothing fundamentally wrong about these approaches. Either could work in my experience. Okay. But the two examples, and I don't know where they fall on your spectrum, I guess. So number one is going to be a leader, which is very handoff. Okay. These leaders, and since you are talking about leadership, right? So I want to pick your brain in terms of where you think of what leaders should do overall, right? So the leader who is going to take very handoff approach is, these are people who are really good cheerleaders, okay? They are going to be cheering a lot. Hey, guys, go, I got you. And they are amazing. There's no question about that. But at the same time, it's not that this is the only formula that works. We have seen struggles with this leadership style as well, that, they don't necessarily have control on the outcome of the project just because they are too handoff. People are doing their sort of things. And then, we are sort of all over the place. That is number one example.
Right.
Number two could be now too involved. They are micromanaging pretty much everything. They are watching everything, and they don't necessarily know how to find the fine balance, I guess, in terms of when to really empower people versus when to really chime in. So in these two examples, these are two probably extreme examples. So in your experience, what is the right way of doing it? Would you prefer more handoff approach, or would you prefer slightly more controlled approach?
Well, I think so let's just talk through talent.
Yeah.
Period. Right.
Yeah.
Let's just talk, because this is a talent question.
Yep.
More than than it is hey, what type of the leader that's needed.
Yeah.
Right. It's a talent question.
Yeah.
First, you want a leader who brings again their authentic self, right? And again, also the ability to execute, right?
Yeah.
In some cases, right? At least in the projects I've been a part of. And in those examples here, those leaders had a couple things on their side. Number one, they had expertise, domain expertise in a certain thing. Where they would either spend energy and time. So they would be able to mentor, coach, or even have to deep dive in some of those things, right? But they still are leaders, so they have to, do the delegation and do the reviewing and stuff. And then talent wise, they had to know you had to pick your team, right? And you do have, in most cases, in particular when you're doing these transformations, you do have some ability to pick your team. You know who your A players are, your B players are, your C players are, and the expertise, right? I think the role of a leader is to take that mix and, I'm from the southern United States, so we had this thing called gumbo, right?
Yeah.
And it begins in the root,
Yeah.
and it's about you really putting those right
Yeah.
ingredients together
Yeah.
to start this thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have the right levels of talent and know
Yeah.
when to do that, that's on you as a leader,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got to spend that time looking at the talent because again, if you know yourself,
Yeah.
you know how you're gonna show up in a situation where I have a bunch of domain experts I got to lead.
Yeah.
They don't want me in their cookie jar, but I maybe have expertise too. So I got to figure out
Yeah.
where can I jump in when we're having a technical review,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But or I may have a situation where I have people that are mixed, who got domain,
Yeah.
got new hires,
Yeah.
got folks who never done this, been in this situation before. This is their
Yeah.
first transformation. I got to also be able to be that cheerleader
Yeah.
and be hands-on and
Yeah.
delegate to the expert, and then find the leaders within the leaders
Yeah.
to help pull they together to go making sure I'm coaching and training as
Yeah.
well as supporting the leader
Yeah.
to help them be and delegate and giving them responsibility and holding them accountable. So I think leadership, right,
Yeah.
is a bunch of that outside of, hey, you got guys, that's, hey, I'm a leader and
Yeah.
but I'm responsible for this.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to realize that a transformation doesn't happen by itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you know yourself,
Yeah.
right, you know how you affect and can influence other people to do something, not just because of the title
Yeah.
that you have
Yeah.
and where you sit in the organization, but also if I'm a
Yeah.
member of a team, I
Yeah.
should have some ability
Yeah.
to influence
Yeah.
the results of a situation that we're all in, and having and knowing how
Yeah.
these people work, how they work together,
Yeah.
understand those questions in that when you're making that route in the
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
this thing, because you're gonna have talent that leaves while you're doing it, right? And you got talent to add in. So how do you onboard somebody who's coming in
Yeah.
when somebody leaves, take a new job or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you ensure that you're
Yeah.
getting them in the structure that you want? So there's
Yeah.
some things you have to do as a leader
Yeah.
to make sure that work. And it's more than just going and doing the difficult things that you're talking about of,
Yeah.
hey, am I hands-on, am I micromanager? It's
Yeah.
like, let me go figure out where
Yeah.
I need to start as a
Yeah.
leader in building this talent.
Yeah.
And do I have the infrastructure, lack of a better term,
Yeah.
to ensuring that this talent can excel in the situation that we're in?
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah.
have to spend that time in doing it.
Yeah, so I'm going to touch upon some more points there,
Yeah.
in that commentary.
Yeah.
So the kind of transformations that we do, and I'm going to
Yeah.
touch on the point that you mentioned
Yeah.
related to domain expertise, right? So
Yeah.
most of the transformations that we do are probably going to be at the CEO level, to be completely honest.
Mhm.
Okay, because when you look at these ERP centric transformation, you are not touching on one department, one function. You are touching at pretty much everything.
The
You are
organization.
literally shaking the foundation.
That's
Now,
right.
let's talk about domain expertise, right? So
Yeah.
when you look at the domain expertise, I mean, CEOs are going to have their own background, but they are never going to have equal expertise in all of the areas, right? So the challenge that they run into is it's very, 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 very hard for them to be able to relate with everybody and really provide the same level of expertise that is going to be required in working with these people and making the right decisions, because these decisions are going to dictate how the transformation is going to work, whether people
Right.
are going to be happy. So, and by the way, there is another problem, okay? So as a CEO, you also have your day job, okay?
Yeah.
And that day job
Absolutely.
is going to be extremely demanding. And
That's right.
these initiatives, they are going to suck up all of your time. They are
Right.
going to suck up all of your resources, capital, whatever you have, and they are going to give you a lot of headache.
Yeah.
So the position that you are going to be in, it's probably going to be very uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
how do you navigate something like this?
So again, I think it's just even as a CEO knows something's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They know that I need to do this digital transformation. I'm
Yeah.
gonna arrange the funding, and I gotta go get smart on what type of digital transformation is going to be,
Yeah.
when it's going to happen, or whatever.
Yeah.
And let me go and find the talent to set the tone
Yeah.
for what I want to do and how I want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I think a CEO can see the forest for the trees because they have to be at that level.
Yeah.
Right. They have to. Right. And so it's execution, it's budget. Don't break the business that I got so I can
Yeah.
still deliver.
Yeah.
And also let me make sure I got the right expertise who is working and making sure she is leading this effort that is important to us, leading this transformation. Right? Again, when you're at that level, you have a set of expectations, but you also have the ability to go again, work the talent and build the RU at the level that they needed. Right. And usually in those times, this is where, hey, your, digital leader, your, CTO, someone has said, hey, we need to do something about from a transformation standpoint. And it's always been on the docket, right? Like, how do we incorporate? I'm just going to pick a very basic example. How do we incorporate the Google Workspace into our framework? Right, that's a transformation, right? Particularly if we worked in the Microsoft Office 10, that's a transformation. Somebody flowed that up to that and that's in somebody's doc. Say, okay, bring me all those things we got to do. Let's decide on which one works best. With a framework, what we have to do when we make decisions, and also, do we have the right talent to go accomplish this thing? Right. And then here's how, if I don't have the expertise, here's how I'm going to need to dedicate some time, as some structure, some cadence on how I can get smart on what's happening so I can go and share that messaging out board-wise, rest of the organization team, how things are going. Given my whoever person that I lead to lead this effort, give her the opportunity to go and share that message abroad where I'm at, right? Making sure she's got the expertise to go do that too. But also being able to share that down into the organization. Hey, this is coming. This is what it looks like. We're going to investment. And whoever's on this team, I'm going to expect you to do what you can do the best you can. Be great and go execute. I think, again, I like how you put that point of, the CEOs ain't got time and they might not be experts, but if a CEO is really, hey, I'm a former CTO or digital guy, I know how to do these things, right? They should know that, hey, here's the type of skill sets I need to go get this done. Here's the resources I need. And here's some budget opportunities to get to. So, and then if I'm an expert in it, I know where to find the dead bodies, if you will. I know where risk can be. And that's for something that I'm going to ask you to go make sure that gets me comfortable on knowing that we're progressing in the manner we need to be progressing in. But that's leadership, right? Isn't it? And I know all that sounds like apple pie mom and book reading academic, but sometimes it goes to that. You got to start there because you don't know what you don't know. Right. And so I think that's where leadership, that's what's critical about it. So
so very interesting. So I'm gonna give you some more scenarios, I guess, the ones that we see, and it's fun for me because this is what I see on a daily basis, to be completely honest.
You see, but I hope so. Here's what I hope that you're doing, right? You are now asking the questions now when you're seeing in your space, either it's an ERPM system changing or digital transformation is changing. It's like, okay, let's talk about the talent that's leading this in your organization. And if you're leading it, right? Let's talk about how we partner in a manner, or how you want to see this done. Right. And be able to set the table with them and saying how you want to see this done. Here's how we operate. Do what things you want to change in an operating cadence, how you see performs. How do I bring you problems? That's going to happen, and they're going to happen. How do I bring you things that I don't know, right? And then how do I incorporate the stuff organization or whatever, or part of, into this operational case, into this project? And so we can go and establish it, because we're both going on this journey together. It's a journey. Everybody's journey is different. But let's make sure that we have an idea of a map. Let's make sure, let's make sure an idea when we run out of gas. Let's make sure what we're doing, we're at half a tank. Let's go make sure that, hey, if I'm tired of driving, who's going to fix it next? Let's make sure who's in the car. Let's make sure we got the right car that we're going to take to do that journey together. So that, and do we, if something go bad, what can, how we still progress? If something go bad, we got to change cars. We got a backup that we can call in out the blue. Those type of things you got to assess in the beginning as best you can to help you on it.
So very interesting example, and I'm going to give you some more scenarios as I promised, right? And these are all real life scenarios, and these are real challenges, to be completely honest.
Absolutely.
They are not easy to navigate. If they
they're not easy. Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
So let's say, and I'm going to make you a CEO now, okay? So you
Oh
are the
God.
CEO, you are leading the transformation, and you
Give it
mentioned
to me.
that you need to find talent. Okay, you found the talent. Maybe you designated your CIO or CTO to lead this initiative. Now the challenge, with the kind of transformation that we are talking about is, if you want to be successful with them, you have to change your business. You have to change your business processes. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Otherwise, it's not going to be successful. Okay. The reason
Hmm.
for that is because if we try to solve everything from technology perspective, it's going to get very, 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 very expensive. And people
Yeah.
don't sort of understand, how bad this fires back. They are always going to say, hey, this is how I work. Now figure it out. And now when you
Hmm.
start figuring it out, you are never going to be consistent with your budget. It's probably going to be 5x of what you had forecasted because the technology always
Yep.
fires back. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
now you had designated your CIO or CTO to lead this initiative. Now the CIO and CTO, they are leading this initiative and they go to the salesperson. And the salesperson is your rainmaker. Okay. He
Hmm.
is bringing all the money that the organization needs. Okay.
Hmm.
So now you are going to ask the salesperson, hey, buddy, you know what? We need to change your business. We need to
Hmm.
change the way you are selling right now. Okay. That's going to be a fun conversation because that's not going to happen.
Absolutely.
Okay. So
Absolutely.
so this guy is going to say, you know what? I don't have time for this. And I'm not going to change. So how do you enable this change? Because you have to change. If you don't change, these initiatives are not going to work. And that's where I like to talk about this whole cross functional misalignment. And
Yeah.
unless they are really aligned, it's very hard to get any sort of business results, adoption from these systems. So these are real leadership challenges.
Yeah. 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 So I got you. So first I would go saying your strategy and your culture of improvement should be something that every leader in your organization, I don't care if you're in sales, I don't care if you're in digital tech, the CIO, CTO,
Yeah.
engineering, operations, everybody should be knowing that, hey, this thing is coming,
Okay.
or this is what we agree to what's coming. And this is how, in the end, how we're going to grow our
Yeah.
business, how we're going to be more successful, things like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so now you got a sales team, your sales leadership is saying, hey, we've been working off Microsoft Excel,
Yeah.
phone numbers,
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
It has not worked as whatever, right?
Yeah.
And and in those discussions, in that strategy sessions,
Yeah.
they need to be saying, okay, so what's the risk if we do that,
Yeah.
right? What are the risks that if we go do this, right? Because hey, if you're going and selling the business,
Yeah.
right? You're going to go sell, so you give me something
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I need you to help me. I need you to understand that I need this change to help the machine to make the output happen so you can deliver,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're going to go, and in particular, if we got a delivery problem,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They're going to go, okay, well, that's not my responsibility. Yes, it is. You're part of this business, right?
Yeah.
We all got the same stock price. We get
Yeah.
all the same. We all get equity on the success of this end. Not just,
Yeah.
I know you get paid on sales, but we get at this level, we get paid for it all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's where you got that again. I think that's just leadership and EQ and
Yeah.
understanding and using the strategy to help
Yeah.
drive. Now, when you get into the actual actions,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, are you on board or where are you in the change journey piece? Are you still
Yeah.
not there with me yet? Is there a time? I thought we agreed to a timeline how we can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue to fight me
Yeah.
or are you going to continue to fight the strategy?
Yeah.
What things can we do different? Because we have to, I can't, again, you just sales is not just a part of sales is not the business. The
Yeah.
rainmaker is not the business, not a part, they're a part of the business, right?
Yeah.
If I generate great sales, if I'm not getting the output, right? Not executing the output,
Yeah.
what does it give my customer on the other end, right? And then if I'm not doing it and my sales are increasing and my costs are increasing,
Yeah.
how is that really helping my sales if my per unit cost is going up? Because I can't execute, because I need the system is going to help me.
Yeah.
It's going to add improvements. It might be some lean developments. It
Yeah.
might be some reallocation of resources to stuff we need to be spending instead of, getting all that non-value added out of the system.
Yeah.
And even the sales team needs to do that stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's for me, that's just an understanding. It's like, hey, I know how to sell widgets.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm gonna do is sell widgets. I said, well,
Yeah.
I need to be able to trace the widgets that we sold so we can better predict what we're doing in marketplaces. Because guess what? I can't give you all this NBI money and investment money for you to travel around the world and be at every conference now because of the business results of what's happening with the business. You have to share in the success as well as the pain of the business. Right? Because you're a part of the business. I think those are hard discussions. Right? But they gotta happen. Right? And if they're a part of the strategy, if they're part of the understanding how we go make change in our organization, if they understand how change comes about in the organization, I'm willing to bet they're going to be more on board than not. Unless you buy and even better, if you have an outside sales entity, they're going to do what you tell them to do because I'm paying you to do this. Right? Right. Well, I got the paycheck, so you're going to do what I asked you to do. But if it's internal, then make sure they're a part of the team, right? But we know organizations have a lag when you're doing these transformations. So let's figure out what things can we do to help with those lags, what cultural things we got to go deal with. Hey, I don't like the system because I don't know it. Right. So, okay, let's go get you coached up and put that in the budget to make sure we get some of you coached up and get some experts in the system. And have them be a part of the team that does the transformation to ensure that, hey, we're getting there. It's coming. It's coming. Here's why. Here's how. There are actions to be mitigated. This is not new under the sun. It's just the will of humans, I think, to deal with this.
So amazing insights. Time flies when two experts are talking. So,
man.
I don't know if you're going to have any sort of closing advice for our listeners.
I would say in terms of your leadership, just continue to grow your leadership competency. Find ways on how to understand yourself more because you change, people change. You can't do this without people. Right. And I said, always be in that habit of continuously learning who you are, what you are, how you show up, and continually to grow that competency with yourself and other folks. And I think you'll bring more to the party, if you will, as you help a business grow. As you do that and implement those things at the site, in the place that you're at, right?
Amazing. And my personal takeaway from this conversation is going to be know yourself, and you definitely bring a lot more. You just need to know yourself.
That's right.
On that note, thank you so much for your time. This has been a powerful episode.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Have a good one.
You too.
All right.
I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you would like to learn more about DeWayne, head over to thestoryteller.beehive.com. It's thestoryteller.beehiiv.com. You can also sign up for his newsletter there, or you can find him on LinkedIn. He is open for speaking engagements or workshops, facilitation opportunities, particularly around leadership and professional growth. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.